Hey, good morning. My name is Brian Dirge. I have been with Tanknology since August of 1998. I started in the kind of the tail end of the first EPA upgrades. Worked in our account management department for several years. Went out to California in early 2000s and kind of got on the tail end of the SB 989 upgrades. California EVR Phase 1, the ORVR upgrades, Phase 2 EVR upgrades, and then moved back east to Texas and started managing the business on the southeast, Gulf Coast, and mid-Atlantic regions. Since then, I've moved on to a Chief Operating Officer role, first in our inspection services business that we split off, which manages currently our 52 inspectors and AST department. We added CP as a corporate function, about 2015, and then took over the field services role as Chief Operating Officer, sometime around there as well. Largely running a nationwide business. There's It's complicated given the strict regulatory environments. What we want to talk to you about today is the life cycle kind of a work order, and just will be generic to the business, but individually each state or each locale may be a little bit different. Just kind of a slight overview. We have 200 field employees and about 25 operations type managers and 15 support staff. We manage about 15,000 locations, which in turn is about 50 to 52,000 work orders a year for our managed accounts. And those are people that we manage the entire life cycle of the job, from the scoping, which would be the regulatory driven work, and there's a wide range of things that drive that, right? It's equipment on site. It is where the site is located. If it's gas, if it's diesel, if it's double wall, if it's single wall, if it has steel, it doesn't have steel, and all of those nuances and all of those idiosyncrasies will lead to what is required to be tested. From a client perspective, generally they only want to be interrupted, once a year or as few times as possible, because anytime the compliance tester shows up, generally their business is, shut down or at least impacted from, kind of their, day-to-day sales. And, so what we attempt to do is aggregate that information and where available, limit our visits to one trip. That is something that's easier said than done. There are, air agencies, there are UST agencies, there are, different regulatory drivers for each of those. Nothing is as simple as once every year or once every 3 year, with few exceptions. So when you're diving into and putting together a rules engine to track these services, it can get, overwhelmingly complicated. It is interesting to me when we look at some of the, either competitors or, third-party platforms that think they're really managing UST, and air compliance. It's clear pretty quickly that they do not dive into the real details that Tanknology does on the rules engine. So when you're tracking something that has a monthly due date, or it has a T-minus PTO date, or a plus or minus, the PTO date, or it has to be tested and repaired in X amount of time. All of these things make scoping and scheduling challenging, and that's really the challenge we embrace is being able to do that over a wide scale, and we are quite confident that we do that better than anybody in the industry. So once you gather all that data, throw it into the washing machine, shake it up, and you spit out a schedule. It again, that comes down to execution, right? And you talk about just getting getting a site scheduled. That takes making sure you have the right credentialed and trained individual out there that is capable of performing the services as required. You have notifications that are required to be done. Many states have a 2-day, 7-day, 5-day notification requirement. The client has notification requirements. They want to know ahead of time, that you're going to be out there, when they're going to be impacted, get the right fuel levels, make sure you don't interact with a fuel driver. And then oftentimes you got to call the site as well to let them know that, so you're calling the, really, I guess, taking a step back, you're notifying the client at a corporate level, and then often at a site level, and you got to get these stars aligned with the agency notifications, and those are different sets of structures. You have restrictions where there obviously there could be promotional deals where somebody doesn't want you there Tuesday afternoons, or just generally Fridays are busy. For non-retail, sometimes they have fleets that come in Monday afternoon or Wednesday night. Rental car agencies that, hey, you can only do Atlanta Airport at midnight, and you throw all those things into the scheduling mix to try to get out there and meet the client objective. So it's not as simple as, okay, get the package to the facility someday or sometime that day. By and large, we have a quality management system that helps us meet each and every one of our clients' objectives, a heck of a lot more than we don't. And certainly throughout the year there are hiccups that happen, and we'll own those and correct them and move on to the next one. So we strive every day to hit an A+ on every job that we do. So with 200 technicians out there, with the number of kind of walkthrough inspections that we do on a daily basis, it is if you get 20 work days and 8,000 work orders a month, you get about 400 visits a day. So our operations team is dedicated in supporting each and every one of those field members from a troubleshooting perspective, from a reporting issues perspective, from a life coach perspective, from again in meeting these individual needs that any one job may have, that you got to scope of work might get changed, or we really need to pay closer attention to one thing, and again making sure all those things happen. So they're really juggling quite a few items, and depending upon the results, there may be regulatory notifications that are required as well. So all of that takes place. We have these days, with the abundance of services that are provided, what used to be a 5 to 7 page report in many cases now, if you're doing lines, leak detectors, overfill, spill bucket, stage 1, ATG, you got a 25 to 35 page document that is a test report that the technician needs to turn in a timely manner, because there are regulatory requirements to meet. Certainly the most common may be getting it posted and sent into an agency within 30 days, but there are places where that's a 7-day window, a 14-day window, 15-day window, and again, it's something that we have to get done. So we have our test reporting department that is in the corporate office that largely manages that for us. So the technicians generally have 3 days to get that work in, to be quality controlled, have the line items, invoices checked, get that processed. So the test reporting department, again, within our Tanks enterprise software, we have right now just under 700 regulatory agencies we report to. We have a lot of clients that are using third-party platforms that we have electronic handshake set up with to get the work orders in over there, which is another process that needs to be managed. And then there are a lot of third-party systems where we have to manually post both the report and the invoicing information within them. Our department in Austin is 8 people right now, and given there's more and more of third-party management platforms, and there's an abundance of work that those cause, and that department has continued to grow, and again impact our cost structure. So a work order is to some it's not a straight line. It zigs, it zags, it moves. There are a lot of different considerations. You're obviously, we are working directly for our client partners, but we have to treat the regulatory community as a interested party as well. measure and monitor, those two things, and again, make sure that we are delivering, the exact right service with the exact right people, and doing that within the time frames dictated within any one of these 700 regulatory bodies we report to.